And we welcome you to Austin, Texas, where we're just in time for Game 1 of the America's Women's 2025 World Floorball Championships qualifications, featuring Canada and the United States of America. Trent Kling alongside Mark Raup and Ricardo helping us out on camera to my right. These two teams seeking a berth to the World Championships later this year. But first, the national anthems.
For the home team, United States of America.
And so those are the anthems here from Austin, Texas, as we get set to get going. Once again, we join you for this broadcast via the IFF app. We're so happy to have you here as the United States takes on Canada. And Mark, this is a series where overall in qualifications, the United States has had the better of Canada 5 of the last 6 go-rounds, but Canada coming off a big victory up in Fredericton to qualify for the World Games in Chengdu, China this year.
Yeah, we definitely should have a pretty good matchup this go-around. The United States team has all of their good players back, and Canada's bringing a pretty stacked roster this go-around as well.
Yeah, all but a couple of the Canadian players were part of their roster up in Fredericton. And then you look at the players that they added. You've got Sophia Holm there. She plays with Blue Fox in Finland, and she has experience in the German First Division as well. And then you have another player who's coming back and returning to the team in Emma Murphy. She wasn't able to make the qualifier in New Brunswick, but she was at the qualifier 2 years ago for Canada. So they do bring some experience back that wasn't in the fold in 2024. But you mentioned, Mark, United States, they bring a lot of experience back. Marie Hagstrom, Kate McBean among them, and then, of course, Tiffany Gerber on defense. Those three players have a combined over 150 matches played for the U.S.
Yes, and they definitely can do some damage.
Absolutely, and Kate McBean, the re-addition, so to speak, in net for the United States as we give you the starting lineups. We begin with the home team on the scoreboard, the U.S., and for them it will be Kate McBean starting in net on D. It'll be Elsa Tanskanen at D alongside Esther Angerstig. Jen Kohler will be playing at forward. She sometimes plays D for the U.S., this time playing up. Kim Campbell will also be playing at forward, as will Nora Alto be. So a lot of movement throughout the lineup here. You're going to see Tanskanen probably take some shifts at forward, but those at least are the 5 players that will start for the United States of America. And Mark, we look at various additions here, but this is a starting lineup that has a lot of American flavor, especially Esther Angerstig. It's good to see her get a start. She is a women's team staple.
Yeah, and definitely one who has a lot of experience playing locally, even if not as much in the international scene.
And now let's take a look at the Canadian starting lineups here as we pull those up on our screen on the IFF website for Team Canada. Their starting lineup will feature Sharon Lobley. She was one of their leading scorers in Fredericton. Elise Van Thielen, who is the coach's daughter, scored 9 goals up in Fredericton. She'll be starting alongside Sophie Pomeroy. And then back on defense for Team Canada, it is their captain, Riley Borghese, starting with Megan Jeffries. And then in net, Ashley Norsworthy. She stopped 45 of 53 shots during the last qualifier in 2023 and stopped all but 2 of the 14 shots she faced in Fredericton. The United States wins the opening draw, and we are underway in the first period. Alto going back to retrieve the ball for the U.S. It'll be Angerstig playing it along the near side. Catherine Lovett, who wasn't in the starting lineup that we were given, is out there on the floor on the left-hand side. The player based in Austin getting a chance to touch the floor on the first shift. And we're 30 seconds in. U.S. still with possession, but they haven't been able to get it up the wings. Now Kohler has it near half floor. She's hounded by Van Thielen. Van Thielen, a good physical player and an excellent goal scorer. It's lifted away by Lobley. A pass from Van Thielen goes through everyone and through the slot area. Lovett tries to feed it back behind the net. It's lost there for a moment by the United States, and here's Ruth Leach for the first time, pestering a Canadian player on the far side. Once again, the Canadian first line still out there. Elise Van Thielen spinning with it. It's been a long shift for them, out there for a minute, looking for a scoring opportunity, perhaps on a wrap. McBean holding the post. Now a shot and a great block up top by Clara Kirk-Gear, who is mostly known for her goal scoring, but an excellent defender as well. Defended on that cut through the crease by Jeffries. And once again, Canada keeping that first line out there now for a minute 30, Mark. This is a very long first shift.
Yep, but they're still out there getting pressure and keeping the ball in. Here we go, a turnover for the USA.
Emily Niskanen lost it at center. Here's Hagstrom, Marie Hagstrom, who is among the U.S.'s all-time leading goal scorers, feeding it down the left-hand side. Leach in front, and an excellent shot by Suzanne Lindquist, but it's shut down by Norsworthy, and what's more, she controls the rebound.
Yeah, big save there early for Canada.
Cassandra St. Denis coming out for her first shift for Canada. She'll take this position as the lower forward, helping out Emily Blomqvist. Those two will play catch, and now Lovett still out there for the United States. So some long shifts here as Lovett ended up on the left-hand side. That's the side farthest away from the changing bench. Ultimately, in Fredericton, what we saw was Canada take very short shifts, about 30 to 45-second shifts if they could. They were rotating a full 3-line complement. We'll see if they go 2 or 3 lines. Crossweight. That's Nicole Crossweight into the near corner for Niskanen. Her centering pass is fed all the way back to the point. Blomqvist kicks that wide of the cage, and it's Evie Adam who loses it. Lovett, pass back to the left-hand side. Kohler attempted to control, and now Kohler's going to get an opportunity to change as Canada controls. So we saw the U.S. have the better of the ball for the first 45 seconds, but Canada's been on the front foot since.
Yeah, they definitely have shown much better possession now that they've got some fresh feet out there to run around. The U.S. is in the middle of a change now, too, as they bring it up.
And Lindquist comes back out there for the Americans. Kirk-Gear is pressuring. Hard forecheck on Sophia Holm. Two players who are very good in European circles. Canada able to get it along the far boards, but it ends up on the stick of Tiffany Gerber. Again, one of the veterans for the U.S. Marie Hagstrom's centering pass is turned over. Dana Isaacs kicks it into the corner, and Canada will start again. They'll recycle.
The U.S. has done a pretty good job of keeping them to the outside for the most part since that first shift.
KKG once again on the pressure for the United States, and now Suzanne Lindquist steps up. The U.S. playing a W here, and you don't see U.S. national teams play a lot of W's here, whether it's the men's national team, the U19 national team, the women's national team, but they're bringing forecheck pressure with this particular line. The ball touched by Hagstrom, but a clean break and a tip on net saved by McBean, and the rebound shot fired high by Van Thielen. It was Sophie Pomeroy that just got her stick on that opportunity on the near post, and McBean's foot was equal to the task.
A big save, and then we got a pretty juicy rebound, but they sent it wide.
Alto, here's Lovett back for the U.S. Lovett working along the near boards. Back to Angerstig. Angerstig scored her first international goal in Fredericton this last summer. Lovett steps up. A decent steal attempt, but it's off of her stick. Kohler couldn't collect, and it's back to Alto. Nice diagonal pass to center, and Lovett. And running in on the far side is Tanskanen. Bopped around. Lovett had it for a moment. Tanskanen waves at it. It's stolen away by Borghese, and the Canadian captain tips it forward for Lobley. Lobley, sharp angle attempt to the side of the net, and now into the near corner where Van Thielen will settle things down for Canada. They had three players low, and somehow Angerstig won the ball battle between the three, but lost it again to Pomeroy. Pomeroy looks like she wants to sweep, will instead kick it back on the pass. Here's the shot. Didn't miss by much from Van Thielen. She is a sniper. As we mentioned, 9 goals in Fredericton this summer in just the 3 games.
That one didn't miss by much.
It did not. He had a good wire to the net. Jeffries playing it across to Lobley, and Lobley will go for a change. So both teams right now just rotating 2 lines. We haven't seen either team use their third line yet.
Definitely seeing a lot of probing here from both teams. They're kind of feeling out what the defense looks like and where the open spots are.
And you know, you have 3 60-minute games over the span of less than 3 days. It's important to get your footing in that sense and figure out what the other team is going to throw at you. Blomqvist carries it all the way across center court. Now fed into the corner. Gets it back. Blomqvist feeds it across, and boy, that was nearly a mountain made out of a molehill. Gerber couldn't control and eventually did just knock it out of the crease and away. And now to be a Canadian free hit from that far corner.
Canada's starting to show a little bit of life in front of the net. They're definitely getting some looks.
Quick changes for both of these teams. And it'll be Canada standing over the free hit. Jessica Crosswaite out there. This is the first time we've seen the Canadian third line on an offensive end free hit. That makes a little bit of sense if you're trying to protect the third line as far as minutes are concerned. Lovett pitches it out from her own end. And Canada now will regroup. Canadians up the near side boards. Handled for a moment by Jessica Crosswaite. It's stolen away by Lovett. Here is Kohler. Plays it back to Tanskanen, who is so good with the ball on her stick. Has played defense the last couple of cycles for the U.S. Here's Kohler, a shot towards the net. Deflected down by Sophia Holm. And Holm curls back behind her net as Rianne Curry and company go for a change. Still 0-0, U.S. and Canada 13-17 remaining in the first period. Ball popped away by Hagstrom, ends up in the American defensive end. Gerber behind the net to Leach. Leach surveying her options. Leach plays with NTFA here in the northern part of Texas, not near Austin. A good touch by Kate McBean. Excellent save on an attempt by Van Thielen after the U.S. turnover.
Dangerous turnover there and really great save by Kate.
I'm impressed because McBean, one of the goalies, of course, that does not play with gloves on her hands. She likes the feel of the ball and able to just get a finger on that. Just got a touch out. Free
Good
ball.
Fight in the corner there led to a USA free hit going out.
That's what I was going to mention, a free hit to the Americans, and now we're going to see a change in lineup for the Americans here as as the United States rolls their third line out. Another quick free hit to the Americans, so let's pay off the players that are out there currently. Jenny Darlow gives it to Tina Bazaka, and now Caitlin Bebout up across the far wing. Kimberly Campbell back behind the net, and running in is Martha Burkett. This is an Austin-heavy line here. 4 of the 5 players out there are from the Austin area, which is where this qualifier is held. And a shot and a goal off of an excellent assist from Sophie Pomeroy. It's Elise Van Thielen, who had been knocking on the door. That time able to just knock it off the bottom of Kate McBean's hand into the net, and it's 1-0 Canada.
Yep, the USA defense got a little bit too low. Everybody crashed to the net and just left her wide open at the point for a blast.
So Canada leading 1-0, and Hagstrom's line out there for the U.S. in response to that goal, a deflection out, and it'll be a Canada free hit near center. It's Nicole Crosswaite out there with Blomqvist currently defensively, and the reason I'm saying both Crosswaite's first names is because there are 2 of them. They are twins, born just minutes apart. And one of them plays forward, one of them plays deep. Gerber pitches it away for the U.S. Kierkegaard on the far side earns a free hit.
Another free hit for the USA here. Canada playing pretty strong defense along the wall, but getting a little bit too strong on the body.
Love it along the near side. Plays it back to Alto. Skips off the stick of Angerstig. And a handy steal by Niskanen, who turns. Niskanen, the rangy forward, centers it up for St. Denis, but it's stolen back by Tanskanen. And we're seeing a lot of this, a lot of turnovers in the center of the pitch, Mark, as again, these 2 teams trying to feel each other out. And every break opportunity doesn't seem like it's amounted to much. This ball knocked away by McBean. She lost sight of the rebound off of the shot from the stick of Blomqvist, but the U.S. was there to collect. Here's Alto behind the net. Love it. Another diagonal pass. That's stolen away once again. Crosswaite doing a great job just playing center field back there.
Yeah, and the Canadian team really seems like they prefer to hit that double team right around the center line, and they've really gotten a couple of juicy turnovers on them.
On the near wing, Jessica Crosswaite puts it in deep. A nice play by Lindquist. Lindquist now rushes in on the defender, Holm. Holm races behind the net, is swarmed by a second forechecker, gets by KKG, and now it's stolen away by Alfheim at center. Gerber races her down. Gerber tries to collect, feeds it along the boards. Hagstrom in space. Hagstrom looking inside, lost it for a moment, but a stick check from behind is going to give the U.S. a free hit and an advantageous position.
Got to take advantage of this free hit here, deep in the Canadian zone.
Gerber will trigger. Back to Hagstrom. Looks shot, nothing there. Tried to pass, nothing there either. The ball popped up towards the near boards off a Canadian stick. Gerber to float in the free hit. An extra ball out there. Henry doing a great job just making sure everything is covered. A loose ball in the crease. And KKG tried to feed her stick away on it, but Ashley Norsworthy was able to squeeze the legs and take it for Canada.
That one raveled around a little bit.
KKG once again hounding in on Sophia Holm. Holm double teamed there. Lindquist also in on the action for the Americans. It's fed out behind the net, pops up in the air. Van Thielen takes, and now KKG comes in to take from her. Wheels it out in front. Exchanges with Hagstrom. Hagstrom, sweep shot, score!
Boy, just like that. She whipped that ball.
She is such an effective shot. And you know, I think it is worthy of note that Hagstrom and Van Thielen have the 2 goals here, because I think we can expect those 2 players to perhaps be the leading goal scorers for each of these teams in this weekend.
A lot of experience between the 2 of them, so definitely look for them to lead scoring or at least be up there.
So the U.S. has tied the game at 1, 9:57 remaining in the first period. Ball into the far corner for Canada's Lobley. Sheeran Lobley plays it behind the net. Another quick shot off the pass from Pomeroy to Van Thielen, and that hit the side of the cage. Clean out. And Pomeroy's passing is what she is primarily known for. She had 8 assists in Fredericton. And we've seen her fire off a couple of really sharp passes right to the forehand side. This time she collects a steal and attempts a shot of her own, and it's just kicked away by McBean.
What a save by Kate McBean. My goodness.
McBean didn't have much time to get out on the angle. Here's Bebout trying to force it into the Canadian end of things. Spins against Lobley. Lobley puts it into the corner. Has it taken away by Bazaka. Bazaka off the stick of Lobley and out. And so the third line for the U.S. will get a change. Angerstig for the Americans. Off the stick of Lovett. And then popped from the stick of Kohler off of Jeffries and out. Another good position for a free hit for the Americans, who I think have had the better position as far as their set plays are concerned, but haven't been able to convert on one yet.
This one is a little far out to make a good chance for a single shot.
They tried, as Lovett tried to fire it on net. Tanskanen goes through everyone. Pardon me, that was Alto going through everyone. Tanskanen chasing down the rebound in the near corner, and it will be a Canadian free hit this time. So the Canadians with Nicole Crothwaite defensively. A diagonal pass attempted, and here's Angerstig jumping up on the rush. Esther Angerstig fires and scores!
What a sweeper. Wow! Little hesitation, and then turn sweep and top of the net. That was a rocket.
She was able to step up first on that diagonal pass, made a nice interception. Didn't give the ball away immediately, though. Managed to control and looked up. And that was maybe what was most impressive about that goal is she looked up, took her time, realized she had time, realized she had the sweep coming to the left-hand side, and she's got her second international goal for the Americans. And even though she plays defense, she can play forward and has one of the better shots on the team.
Yeah, absolutely no panic on that play, which is what you look for from a good offensive defenseman.
Hagstrom trying a cute play off to the right-hand side, trying to feed KKG. Instead it comes to Lindquist behind the net. It'll be played back to the point. Gerber exchanges for a moment with Leach. Leach is going to go down the boards. Lindquist with it. Into the crease, and Norsworthy collects. That goal from Angerstig unassisted, and now it's 2-0, or 2-1, pardon me. The United States is leading. Just under 8 minutes to play in the first period. And a turnover from Canada. And that's one thing we've seen from the Hagstrom line here. They're sending both of their forwards up very, very deep, both Kierkegaard and Lindquist coming up deep to pressure. And it's forced Canada into some compromising positions, I think one would say. And they're going to give that back to Canada there. It might have been a double touch from Hagstrom, but I couldn't see from here.
I think it was a sweep, yeah.
Gerber intercepts the Canadians' through pass. Hagstrom with it on the far boards, hounded by Lobley. Lobley has such long arms and a long stick to go with it. She's been difficult for the Americans to manage.
U.S. unlucky there. They were in the middle of a change, so they only had one defender on the floor on that side.
Pomeroy's shot, and I don't think McBean saw that clearly through traffic, able to get just a paw on it and off of her mask.
A little 9-1-1 save there.
It was one of those where the eyes get wide very quickly. Leach up to Kimberly Campbell. Third line in the middle of a change. Campbell was attempting to sweep it into the middle but lost it. A nice steal there by Van Thielen. And Pomeroy now chasing down Leach in the corner. Leach hasn't been able to get off to get a change. Get the third line out there fully for the United States. Campbell's defense turns it over, and here's Burkett. In her first international game for the Stars and Stripes, loses it to a back-checking Van Thielen, who has been everywhere so far for Canada.
Burkett made a really nice play there, breaking up the pass and getting the ball out of danger.
A turnover in the middle. Campbell's shot. She scores!
Big mistake by the Canadian defense there. Left that one right in the middle with nobody around except for Kim Campbell, and she did not miss.
Campbell was right place, right time, and I'm not sure. It looked like some miscommunication there, because if there's not miscommunication, you don't just pitch that into the middle of the floor. But Campbell able to step up, realized once again she had time, looked up and found a corner behind Norsworthy. Nothing the Canadian goalie could do in that circumstance.
Yeah, that is the danger zone when you're trying to break out of your zone. You don't want the ball loose in the middle in front of your goalie ever.
And not a lot of time for Norsworthy to get out and cut down the angle as Campbell came storming in. So for Kimberly Campbell, it's another goal against the Canadians. She had one in Fredericton as well. Canada trying to answer. They got a quick shot attempt off, but it's off the side of the cage. Lovett trying to clear for the U.S.
Oh!
And Lovett, hard contact into the boards against Blomqvist, pops right back up. Alberto Coduto comes over to check on her, and she says, yep, I'm okay, pops right back up, and off to the bench she goes. So Canada really on the front foot for the first 8 minutes or so of the game, and ever since the Americans' first goal, they have had the better of things. They forced Canada into some untimely turnovers, and they've got that 3-1 lead.
They've definitely looked out of sorts in the defensive zone ever since they gave up that first goal. A lot of loose balls, a lot of chances to get the ball out of the zone that they've missed.
KKG a shot, just skitters wide. Blomqvist there for the rebound, but Gerber keeps it in offensively. KKG beats her defender Crossthwaite to the ball. Crossthwaite, though, getting her stick in. Nice physical position by her, but Gear able to scatter behind the net and reverses field to Leach, who's pinching in from her D spot. Leach off of the boards.
Really good ball movement here by the USA team.
And really good rotation of players there as they try to change on the ball a little bit. Hagstrom now comes back low. Leach is still pinching in, so the U.S. has four players down low that Canada has to kind of crunch in their 2-1-2 against. And now Canada comes out of it with possession. Blomqvist ahead. It's Niskanen sweeping it into the far corner. Watched over by Leach. Niskanen still there. Leach pats the ball. Niskanen recollects. Niskanen waiting for help. Didn't really have it. She had no Canadian players between her and the nearest American. And finally a free hit called, and the Canadians will get a change. It was a good job by Niskanen just to hold the ball in control for as long as she did.
Yeah, she definitely managed to force Ruth Leach into fouling her there when there really wasn't anywhere to go with the ball.
So the third line out there for the U.S. having just scored. And by my count, each of the three lines now has scored for the United States. Bebout kicks the ball to the corner. Bazaka trying to get it back to Bebout, but it's turned over to Alfheim. Up the boards. Held by Holm. Alfheim, Holm, touched by Curry. And those two will play catch up on the point. Curry wheels it to the near side. It's played from Jessica Crossthwaite on, and here's Campbell forechecking. Holm able to spin against Campbell. Holds. And we see that this third line, Mark, they're playing back a little bit further, not forechecking quite as aggressively, maybe going for some of those 50-50 balls, but not on the front foot quite as much as maybe the second line was.
But also keeping their shape better than they did the first time we saw them out there. They're definitely playing a little closer to the center and not collapsing down in front of the goalie as much. And
as I mentioned, you've got 4 Austin players on this third line that play together fairly regularly. The one exception is Kimberly Campbell, who is the goal on the line. The play to the near side, a shot coming from Van Thielen, stopped by McBean. She couldn't handle the rebound, but the U.S. able to clear up to center. Here's Burkett. Lost it. Canada once again attempting to rush in. Lobley had it for a moment. A nice pass centering from the pass specialist, so to speak, in Pomeroy, but the ball turned over. The U.S. still cannot get out there, still cannot get a change in. Drop pass back. Burkett, a nice block on the attempted shot from Van Thielen. And you get a sense that Burkett and company now know who the shooters are on this line at the very least.
They're doing a better job of sticking to the shooters for sure now. Just have to make sure they keep their shape.
Borghese into the corner. Here is Pomeroy spinning. Watched over by Jenny Darlow. Now here's Jeffries. Her shot blocked again by Burkett. A rebound shot. That's stopped by McBean. Behind the net is Van Thielen. Long shift out there for the third line and a great Shot stop by McBean, and it comes into the near corner. It's turned over for a moment from Darlow to Pomeroy. Pomeroy's centering feed is finally cleared by Kimberly Campbell, and she does the right thing to fire it all the way down. Lovett off the bench. She's first to get there for the U.S. I don't think the Canadians thought the U.S. team was going to be forechecking, but it's given right back, and Lobley running in from center. Robley pivots against Alto. Lobley behind the net has the ball popped away by Angerstig, and Angerstig now will spin back. Angerstig waiting. She is the second goal scorer of the game for the U.S. Now is back along the end boards. Plays it up to Alto, tips it, but off of her stick and into the stick of Blomqvist. She's picked by Esther Angerstig once again. Angerstig has had a great first half to this point.
She's definitely in the running for the first period MVP so far. She's played fantastic.
2:06 remaining in the first period, and the U.S. trying to hold on and or expand a 2-goal lead. If you're just joining us, it was Canada who got out on the front foot with an early goal. And the United States struck back with 3 straight, the last 2 on Canadian defensive end turnovers. McBean controls that centering pass. Underhand roll towards center. It was intended for KKG. Tipped back into the zone by Nicole Crossweight. KKG gets it back, though, after Gerber stands her ground. That shot just fired to the left side and wide. Lindquist in for the rebound against Blomqvist. Blomqvist controls for a moment. Hagstrom into the slot. A dangerous spot there. Gerber's shot from the point is grabbed no problem by Norsworthy, and the begloved Norsworthy will dump it off back behind the net. Crossweight plays it to the near side to St. Denis. There's 1:20 left in the first period. Our clock camera has met an untimely fate, so I'll count the time down for you as we get towards the end of the period. Hagstrom attempted to forward it. It's turned over to St. Denis. Back it comes to Alfheim. She passed it up, and now so did Lindquist. Recollecting his Leach. Here's Hagstrom. She wanted to sweep. Great defense by St. Denis, keeping in front of her. Hagstrom now on her backhand into the slot. Plays it back for Kirk Gear. Gerber thinks about the shot, thinks better of it. 45 seconds remaining in the first period. That pass for Leach just out of her reach, and now Canada has a chance to break with Alfheim. Alfheim fires a shot, and that's off the stick of Gerber, off of the overhang that's kind of halfway down over that side of the floor. And as a result, it'll be a Canadian free hit. 38 seconds remaining.
Definitely a little bit of an interesting obstacle here on the court. We've got a volleyball wall that's about probably 20 feet off the ground right above the U.S. side right now.
It's passed back to the point off of the free hit. Curry let it go to Holm. Holm exchanges with Curry. 30 seconds remaining in the first period. Curry back to Holm. U.S. stretching them a little bit. Lovett pushing up. Now Tanskanen stands her ground, able to take that away. And now Lovett does the smart thing, comes back, tried to get it to Tanskanen, no, on the break. The ball just out of her reach. 10 seconds left for the Canadians to mount a charge, trailing 3-1 in the first period. And they will not have time for a last attempt, I don't think. 2 seconds left, and that was an interesting last possession for Canada. I'm unsure if they thought they might be in danger of maybe turning the ball over in the center third of the court, but they just held. They didn't even take the last shot in that circumstance.
Yep, one of the Canadian forwards was a little bit frustrated. I don't know if the camera picked it up, but there was a little bit of a board slap there with about 5 seconds left.
All right, so the score, 3-1, the United States leading Canada at the end of the first period of play, as we will get you a short break and then come back with match facts and goals from the first period. That is all when we return, again here from Austin, Texas, and the Women's 2025 World Championship Qualifications Game 1. Welcome back, everyone, to Austin, Texas, just in time for the second period as the United States are up 3-1 on the Canadian women. I'm Trent Kling alongside Mark Raup and Ricardo helping us out on camera. And one thing that I'll note is that trying to tinker a little bit with the camera settings here during the break. So we'll continue to work on that to try and make the broadcast better for everyone watching. But Mark, the Canadians got out to a 1-0 lead early on. A goal through Elise Van Thielen, the assist to Sophie Pomeroy. Pomeroy's passing was on display in that first period. Perhaps the most standout thing from the Canadians was Pomeroy's passing and then also forechecking.
They definitely had a lot of chances early on and did a really good job of keeping the ball in the U.S. zone, but the U.S. really shored up their defense in the second half of the first period, and it turned it around on Canada.
And meanwhile, the U.S. got 3 straight goals. The first, Marie Hagstrom from Gear, who got a shot, and Norsworthy did a great job tracking across her net to not only make the save, but hang on to the rebound. So Hagstrom got the first goal, and then 2 straight goals directly off of turnovers by Canada. The first, Esther Angerstig hitting the top shelf, and then Campbell did the same thing just a short while later. 2 goals separated by just about 2 minutes of playing time, and the U.S. as a whole got 3 goals within about 3:30 of playing time. Nice save by McBean through traffic as we pick up second period action. The Canadians had the better of play the first 8 minutes of the first period, but then the Americans, especially with the forecheck by this Hagstrom line, started to assert themselves. Now they've got the Hagstrom line matched up against the Van Thielen line, and we see that results in a shot directly off of the crossbar.
A little post magic there.
And McBean, no doubt, thanking her posts a little bit after that, but Canada was that close to just a 1-goal deficit. So the Kohler line goes back out. Here's Tanskanen. Loses it. The Canadians trying to push forward. That was Evie Adam with it, but the ball got stepped on.
I don't think that one's going to make it, Trent.
I think that might be down for the count. We'll see if the folks over at the Secretariat table decide to maybe do some CPR on that ball over there. Maybe we can talk Daryl Gross into saving it. There's Daryl Gross working the Secretariat over there on that far side, along with Ryan Connor and Brian Radical. Match officials helping out today. The United States take over. Alto exchanging with Angerstig, one of the goal scorers as we mentioned. Kohler feeds a pass forward, but the long stick of St. Denis got in the way.
Little hesitation by Canada there on that loose ball.
Tanskanen spinning. And a hold, and I'm not sure if that was on the ball carrier. Yeah, they will get Tanskanen in that circumstance. That's the second time they've called a hold on someone carrying the ball so far in this period. And you wonder if that was something that they talked about during intermission that the refs wanted to emphasize. That shot from the point coming from Nicole Crosswaite, knocked down by McBean, and another rebound in the middle. McBean has had good hands to get to some shots here, but she's also given up a few rebounds that have bounced around in the slot area, and Canada hasn't been able to capitalize yet.
The U.S. defense has really done a good job of protecting those second shot chances.
The centering feed knocked away from Canada by Gerber, and spinning with it is Van Thielen. Van Thielen will set the table for Canada to change on the ball. Comes back to Borghese. Borghese, the captain, wearing the armband for this qualifier. Up to the far side, Pomeroy is bodied up by Ruth Leach. They'll give a free hit to Canada. Now Canada gets a free hit in a decent offensive position. They didn't see a lot of these in the first half as far as a free hit that maybe you can do something offensively with. Comes back to Megan Jeffries.
So far, Canada hasn't done anything off with a couple of free hits they've gotten. They're not really running any set plays, it doesn't seem like. Just trying to get the ball back into the middle for a shot.
Yeah, they seem content to pitch the ball back to their D instead of trying to play it forward, force the issue. Gear spins, attempted a shot, it rolls off of her stick. She crashes in on it and attempts another shot, and that ball blocked off of a stick. It'll be Lovett to take the free hit for the U.S. in the far corner.
Well, a huge play by the Canadian defense there on a really dangerous location shot.
Ball off the foot of Kohler. Kohler behind the net trying to pinch it free. Comes back to Lovett. Lovett is hounded by Borghese. Into the middle comes to Tanskanen. She'll spin, try a centering feed to Kohler, who was all alone on the far post. If it got there, it was danger. But Canada able to deflect the initial pass, and then we're going to get a high stick called against the U.S.
Really high-quality scoring chances there from the USA. They're really doing a good job of putting the pressure on these Canadian defenders and forcing turnovers.
Kohler was a player who got a significant amount more playing time in Fredericton than she had seen before for the women's team. But I've been impressed so far with the play of Catherine Lovett. She wasn't in Fredericton to get that type of playing time, but she's come out here. She got the start today as the left wing on this line, and she's been a pest for Canada to try and handle.
She definitely puts herself in position to make plays, and she uses her speed to chase down the ball and get in the way when teams are trying to break out.
She was named as the U.S.'s player that most embodies fair floorball in the questionnaire that both of these teams got. And Mark, I know you have a chance to play with her on a regular basis. I think that assessment's probably fair.
I can definitely confirm that she is a pest.
and fair, Mark.
Also fair.
Dana Isaacs has it near center for Canada as they roll this line back out there. The Isaacs line back out. A pass for Kohler too far for her to handle, and it's taken by Holm. Holm has been excellent defensively for Canada. And I think where Canada's gotten a lot of good offensive chances with this line is with Holm controlling the ball in her own end. She'll swap out for Borghese. Borghese sets the table deep for Lobley. Canada changing on the ball. And it's the Van Thielen line back out there. The line that has the lone Canadian goal. Borghese feeds it along the near side. Gerber would have none of it. She turns it back the opposite direction. Kohler looks forward for Lovett. Doesn't get as far as Lovett, but then Kohler takes it back towards center. Lovett spins it out for Gerber. The U.S. will reset. KKG spinning, firing a shot, and that did not miss by much. Her release is very quick, and I think caught the Canadians off guard in that circumstance.
Gerber did a really good job after the initial pass to crash the middle of the floor and really open up a shooting lane there.
KKG with 7 goals in the last World Championships for the U.S., but she's never played Canada. She's never played in a qualifier, just the World Championships. She did not have a chance to play in Fredericton, the World Games qualifier either.
Good entry pass here.
It was an excellent entry pass forward for Van Thielen, and once again it was Pomeroy doing the job offensively for Canada, helping to set the table. The ball taken over by Borghese. Tries to feed the rush forward, and a good read by Leach, who gets her stick in the way. And now the U.S. has a 2-on-1 if Hagstrom can get there in time. Hagstrom behind the net. The United States sets up offensively in front for KKG. Just missed on the one-timer attempt. Ball kind of hopped on her. Hagstrom takes over once again at center. Wheels in. Fires across. The ball loose in front. Lindquist waved at it. Couldn't make contact. That's where Lindquist scores a lot of her goals. It's from the front of the net. Hagstrom. Oh, my goodness!
Oh, a little Zorro there. That was pretty filthy.
So, Hagstrom able to pot the 4th goal for the Americans. I'm still stunned. I'm not very often at a loss for words, but my goodness.
Give the U.S. team a lot of credit. They've done a really good job of getting the ball down in the Canadian zone and really have chased down some loose balls and wild bounces. And boy, Marie got that ball behind the net, and she left no doubt about what she was going to do. She loaded up and sent that one to the top corner.
Shot blocked by Alto, coming off of the stick of Blomqvist, and a hard collision there. The two players smile it off, Tanskanen and St. Denis. St. Denis got right back up with a smile on her faces. A few times we've seen that with a pretty hard collision.
Yeah, mostly right in front of us, too, so far.
And that ball deflected out off of the stick of Angerstig and then off the stick of the forechecking Niskanen.
United States goal, number 12.
13:42 remaining in the second period. 4-1 the score. The United States up, and third line back out there. Darlow feeding it up for Bebout. It goes up further for Burkett. The ball deflected out by St. Denis. And now Darlow quickly up to the free hit. And the official says, hey, back here. Alberto Caduto correcting the play. Here's Bebout spinning along the near boards. Backhand pass to Darlow. Fed away. Here's Joe Owens for the first time today, or at least the first time I can recall. Owens was a big factor in helping to set up this qualifier in Austin. She's been on the local organizing committee, so she's kind of pulling double duty this week.
Joe does a little bit of everything for the Austin club and a lot of most things.
She came to the game via lacrosse, or lacrosse was her sport first, but she said her sister was dating someone within the Austin Floorball Club. She got invited to a scrimmage, and she's been playing ever since.
Yeah, you forgot one important detail there. She got invited by me.
She got invited by you. There you go. I would take credit for it as well. Van Thielen spinning up top for Canada. Rips a shot off the sweep, and that goes wide. Owens clears the rebound for the U.S. Looks up the near boards and will fire it deep. Burkett has it. Looking for Campbell, who's yelling for her to send it. Campbell in front. Burkett couldn't quite get there, but a nice setup by this third line for the Americans. They're starting to show a little bit more chemistry as they've had more time to work together.
The breakout there was fantastic. They got the ball up the boards and really kept it moving.
Lobley spinning behind the net with the ball on her backhand side. Feeds it off, and this is Jeffries. Back to Lobley, rifles a shot from distance. It bounces off of the end boards. Back it comes to Van Thielen, and a goal for Canada as Van Thielen rips it home from the near side. I think that might have bounced off of Owens' foot, but if it didn't, it was just a simple, good shot from that angle.
Yeah, that one, once she turned the corner, she had a lot of net to shoot at on the backside. I don't know if that hit something or not, but it was definitely upper 90 on that back post.
And that's a tough play as a goalie because McBean dove towards the first shot that pulled her out of the net a little bit. And when you get that lively bounce off of the backside, you know, you've got a defender there, and Owens was in position, but that's a lot of net for one defender to cover as McBean was sliding, and then the shot goes back against the grain.
It's so hard to recover and get big again quickly.
So the Canadians pot their second goal of the game, and with 12:17 remaining in the period, it's now 4-2. Ball kicked by Gerber. Forward. Gerber defensively, this is something that she has always done when in the Stars and Stripes. A nice cross pass, a save on Lindquist by Norsworthy, but she's always used her feet very well, and that time able to kick the ball out of Canadians' hands and set the table for an American chance. This time Gerber uses her stick, feeds forward, gear the shot, and that goes through the hands of Norsworthy, but she got just enough of it to deflect it wide.
USA answering with a couple of really good scoring chances here after the goal.
So it'll be a free hit for the Americans. The Kohler line back out. The free hit set. Comes back to D. Ignore Alto. Cross court for Kohler. Back it comes to Angerstig and back to Kohler. Fed it along the near side, yeah. The Americans in that sequence looked a little more unsure of themselves in terms of feeding the ball around toward near the point, and Megan Jeffries is the beneficiary of it for Canada.
We've seen so much crisp passing from the USA team. It's a little surprising to see them scuffling a little bit in the zone. Good poke there, though.
Angerstig once again stepping up, keeping a good gap defensively. Jeffries, though, recollects. Jeffries steps around her defender. Jeffries walks in, fires. It's off the stick of Alto. The Canadians still with it. Here's Van Thielen. Van Thielen between her legs. Nice little move. Behind the net, it went to Pomeroy, who was poke checked, and now Angerstig takes it, and the Americans are on the run. 3-on-3 if they hurry. Angerstig, a little hesitation, a quick shot. Lovett was right on, but Norsworthy was equal to the task. One thing I've been impressed about regarding Norsworthy is she has not let much in the way of rebounds go in front. She has grabbed so much.
Really sticky hands so far.
She does. That's impressive as a goalie and a sometimes goalie here on the broadcast. We can both appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, keeping those rebounds to a minimum is so big.
And it's difficult in floorball. Even the best goalies will control maybe 20-25% of the rebounds. Third line back out for the United States. Lobley, watched against by Bebout, feeds the pass inside. St. Denis eventually funneled it to the far side. Adams' shot was deflected. Owens chases Adam into the corner. Owens trying to body up Adam.
Pretty severe size difference there.
There is Adam. Over to the far boards. Blomqvist looking for the spinner. And instead it's Bebout taking it. She was hauling it up the floor. And now we'll go back to D. Darlow forward to Bebout. Bebout gets to it on the far boards. Kicks it over to Gerber. And now that the third line has done their job, they've gotten possession. They'll skip off. The Hagstrom line will come on, or will try to come on. Canada gets a turnover at center. Gerber, a clutch block against the shot of St. Denis.
That was a dangerous looking rush there. That was a big block.
We are going end to end here. Not a whole lot of sustained possession for either team in this second period. It's hard to believe we're already more than 10 minutes into the second. Here's Lindquist off a steal. Fires a shot off the mask of Norsworthy. Norsworthy equal to the task once again.
And even there where she gave up a rebound, she put it in the corner and not out in front.
Lindquist. Let's move down. Gear scores! That is a release from KKG. That is her first of the game, and the fifth for the Americans, who stake themselves out now to a 5-2 advantage.
Just like we were talking about earlier, if you can hit those corners as a goalie, there's not a whole lot you can do. You got to have really quick hands, and even then, that back corner is so hard to defend.
And again, Norsworthy didn't have much time to cut out the angle, and Kirt Gear's quick release results in a goal for the Americans and pushes the score now to 5-2. Lovett on the far wing. It's turned over. In comes Van Thielen. Van Thielen so far the lone Canadian goal scorer. She's got 2. The Americans, meanwhile, have seen goals from Hagstrom. She's got 2. Angerstig, Campbell, and KKG. Tanskanen loses the ball to a back-checking Sharon Lobley. Now it's taken back over by Kohler. Passes up the ball, but now gives it into the middle to Tanskanen, who waves at it, tries to body up, and Lovett came out of nowhere to fire the shot. As the righty, she had the benefit in that situation, but once again, Norsworthy grabs the shot and no rebound.
And a really good play by the Canadian defense there. They stepped out to challenge that initial shot. And you're right, Lovett stepped through and managed to pop one on net, but without any action in front of the net, there wasn't a whole lot of danger there.
Ball up the near boards. Here's Van Thielen. Her shot now off the mask of Kate McBean. Van Thielen spinning and centering feed. Stolen away by who else but Esther Angerstig. But this time she was bested by Borghese, whose shot was knocked down by Kate McBean. Ball to the corner and eventually out through Lovett. Lovett spinning in. Shot blocked by the Canadians. Van Thielen couldn't come away with it. Comes back to Angerstig, who finds herself up a little bit. And she wisely attempts to rag the ball a little bit towards the far end. Was contacted just slightly by Lobley. Looked up for a call. Wasn't one forthcoming. Birkett comes back into the defensive end. She will win advantage for the U.S. and wins the whistle.
Yep, Canada didn't back off on the advantage there, so easy whistle for the refs.
You know, Mark, we were talking about Martha Birkett before this game, and she's a player that is relatively new to the sport, new to floorball. Has just been playing for a handful of months, but she's got very much that junkyard dog mentality, able to go in and scrounge up loose balls with regularity. Here's Campbell in the corner. Campbell spinning. Campbell getting around her defender in front, looking for Bebout, who attempted a backhand. That shot knocked down by Canada, and back the other way come the Canadians. Racing in is Sophia Holm. Her shot knocked away by Birkett. And this ball knocked just wide. I think Joe Owens got a piece of that for the Americans. Darlow out to center. It's pitched forward by Campbell. Campbell falls down, isn't able to get back up, so Bebout takes up on the forecheck, but it's Holm coming away with it for the Canadians, and Holm will calm things down.
Everybody gets to take a breath, get their feet under them, and then we'll go right back to it.
The Americans not changing just yet. They'll get a part change here. Birkett comes off for Hagstrom. But otherwise, the third line still out for the Americans. The Canadians changed entirely on the ball. That's Jeffries feeding up to Borghese. Borghese cross court. Van Thielen's shot. Oh, that did not miss by much either.
And boy, that had some drop on it too. That was a scary one that we got lucky and it just went over the net on. Goodness.
Van Thielen, again, maybe doesn't have the quick release of KKG, but she has every bit the velocity on her shots, and as you mentioned, a lot of movement on her shots, Mark. 5-2, the Americans lead Canada. Hagstrom behind the net. Hagstrom exchanges, fires a shot. It's off the leg of Borghese. Nice little cheeky block inside. Picked up by Jeffries.
Was open again on that shot too.
It
Big
was.
Block.
If that block doesn't happen, it's a 6-2 American lead. Leach attempted to get it back to Hagstrom. It's turned over. Lobley looked forward on the diagonal. It's popped into the air. Back comes the playmaker Pomeroy. Pomeroy spins amongst a trio of Americans. And eventually it's kicked back to the defender, Borghese. Borghese to Jeffries. Jeffries has her stick impacted by Kirk Gear. With 5:07
stick
left.
Check on that one. We're going back pretty far. The United States defense in the last few minutes has had a lot of scrambles in front of their own net, but they've done a really good job of blocking shots and rallying to the ball and keeping the Canadians from getting second and third chances.
Canada now will set up offensively. We've mentioned neither team has really had sustained possession one way or the other. We've seen a lot of rush chances. We've seen possessions of about 15 seconds, and that's it. And I'm not sure if it boils down to impatience or trying to push the issue, or good defense played by each one of these teams to not allow the other team to just send it back and forth amongst the defenders. Alto off the boards. Tanskanen late to the ball. Popped away by Crossweight. That's Nicole Crossweight, who watches as St. Denis takes. Feeds it to the far boards. Jumping the route was Angerstig. Sends Lovett forward. Lovett spins on the backhand. Neat little play by Catherine Lovett. Lovett now pinched up against the boards and earns the free hit for the Americans. We'll see what they do from this position on the far boards.
It looks like Catherine Lovett caught a little bit of a knee on that one trying to cut through, which is what led to the whistle there.
Blomquist trying to keep her feet moving, but it's difficult sometimes when you've got a player pinned in that position to get that knee out of the way.
Looks like we've got the third line back out there again.
And they'll be the one on this free hit. Burkett, Bebout, and Campbell, all three will stand over the ball. Burkett feeds back to Campbell. Her shot, oh, I don't think Norsworthy saw that as that went wide. Bebout races down the rebound on the near boards. Bebout looks across to Owens. The ball popped away, and now we get a free hit and another free hit earned by the Americans, and this time they'll rotate the Hagstrom line out because it's another free hit and a decent offensive spot for the U.S.
The U.S. team ran a set play that last time. Let's see what they do this go around.
Quick in from Gerber. Inside Hagstrom. Back to Gerber. Sweep shot from the point. She scores!
Boy, the USA ladies are living at the top of the net right now. We have seen more than a few goals that have been up there right around and under the top bar.
It was an excellent shot, and for Gerber, that's her first goal in her last 5 appearances for the U.S. women, and her first goal in the last 13 games for the U.S. women.
That probably feels pretty good, I'd bet.
And once again, the U.S. team shooting high, shooting well, but zero chance Norsworthy saw that as well through the screen off of the Gerber sweep.
Yeah, both screens and taking quick shots will get you so many good looks, no matter how good the goalie is.
Trying to answer is this Canadian first line. Here's Pomeroy. Plays it back up. Lobley thinks about it. Gets it to Van Thielen. Canada may need an answer beyond Van Thielen here. Here's Lobley's shot, and she scores! What a rifle shot above the shoulder of McBean. Nothing any goalie can do about that.
Another goal right there under the bar. Those are so tough to save.
And just like that, it's a 6-3 game. We had just mentioned Van Thielen had been the offensive power for the Canadians, and it might be someone else that needed to step up and take shots. And Lobley shows why she had so much success, 6 goals in Fredericton, and it's her first of the qualifier here.
And on top of that, just getting some confidence going for these Canadians. You know, they've got one goal scorer who's really done all the heavy lifting. Getting somebody else involved really should help them get moving otherwise.
Burkett trying to wheel it the opposite direction. It's taken by Sophia Holm, who pinches down from her defensive position. Back behind the net, Canada looking for the centering feed. Crossweight couldn't find anyone immediately. Owens kicks it back into the corner. Crossweight looks inside. Alfheim couldn't make contact on the one-timer, and here is Campbell. Campbell sends it far to Bebout. The ball was intercepted by Holm. Holm steps in. Holm's shot deflected. A nice block by Jenny Darlow.
Boy, that was a big one. There was a lot of net to shoot out there.
A quick one-timer waved on by Isaacs. It goes off the stick of Bebout into the near corner. Burkett tried to clear, but here's the shot from Holm, and it's in.
That's another loose ball in the danger zone there. That's the last place you want somebody to pick a pass off, because there are a lot of options for your shot.
Not a lot of time for Burkett to clear that ball either, and so the kick back to the middle resulting in a steal by Holm, who's been everywhere on this shift, but in this game as a whole. And she manages her first of this qualifier, and now we have ourselves a 6-4 game. So 3 goals by the Canadians in this period after being held to 1 in the first. The problem is they've given up 3 the other way. And so the deficit for Canada still at 2, which is how we started this second period.
But you feel a lot better if you're Team Canada. Even more so now.
Van Thielen had all kinds of time to race in and fire it inside the far post. Nothing McBean could do about that, and Van Thielen is not going to miss from there. She has a hat trick. Canada within 1.
A lot of time, a lot of space, and all she had to do was pick where she wanted to put that ball.
.225 remaining in the second period. 2 goals just seconds apart for the Canadians. And now the U.S. will just try to get out of this period with a lead. Tanskanen spins with it. Will fire it towards the middle. Angerstedt comes back, is able to beat the on-rushing player for Canada. That was Evelina Adam coming in on the forecheck.
You can really see how much life the Canadian team has now that they've started to answer.
A nice save by McBean off of that point shot from St. Denis. And now Tanskanen.
More juice now.
Tanskanen will run forward. Attempts to sweep into the middle. It's stolen away. Ready for it was Adam. Here is Adam back into the center. It's waved at, and they get a goal. Crossweight off the feed from Niskanen, who knocked down the initial ball. It fell right to Nicole Crossweight, and just like that, within minutes, Canada has seen a 4-goal deficit evaporate. They've staked themselves to a 6-6 tie.
Those loose balls in front of the net are just killer if you can't get them out quickly. That ball took one bounce and found her stick, and she knew exactly what to do with it.
So Holm, Pomeroy, and Crossweight right in a row. With 3 goals for the Canadians. That followed a Sharon Lobley goal, and now KKG will be called on a stick lift on her forecheck. And Canada is down 6-2, now tied up at 6-all.
And boy, all the momentum in the world on their side right now.
Spinning is Pomeroy. Pomeroy had that 5th goal. I think I've called Van Thielen on it. It was Pomeroy instead. Kirk-Gier turning. And a free hit called to the Americans. 1:03 remaining in the second period. Gerber looks things over. She's the last goal scorer for the U.S. Here's Hagstrom. Creeps in from the side. Hagstrom scored on a Zorro goal earlier. Now Gerber will try to get it. Deflection! It's off of Lindquist and in the goal.
That was a high skill play right there. My goodness, what a tip.
And I think that might have been off of her body. I don't know if they'll give the ball, if they'll give the goal to Lindquist, but it looked like it went off of her. It definitely went off of someone, whether a Canadian body or an American body.
It definitely changed directions pretty severely there towards the end.
So the United States now back to a 7-6 lead, under a minute to play in the second period. Another turnover at center. This time Norsworthy pounces on the loose ball after Lovett shoveled it towards the net. 40 seconds remaining in the second period. And remember, Canada had the ball with about 15 seconds left to go in the first, didn't get a shot away, didn't even attempt, and Canada got frustrated at that. We'll see if they're content to go into the second intermission down by a goal or if they mount a charge.
You'd have to imagine that they're going to want to try and at least get one more look here.
It's the Kohler line out for the U.S. and a turnover.
But of course the danger is you might turn it over.
Yeah, Tanskanen forward to Kohler. Kohler spins with it. Kohler looking in, finds Lovett off of her stick and high. Great defense played on the stick there by Rianne Curry to prevent a goal.
If she doesn't break that up, it's an easy tap in. The U.S. is going to get a chance for one more free hit with about 6.5 seconds left here. Let's see if they can't maybe make a little magic.
But an excellent job by Kohler before that to take her time and set things up from the near side. Set play for the U.S. 5 seconds remaining. KKG to Hagstrom, her shot well wide, and that's the way we'll end the second period of play. Well, we've got excitement here in Austin. It was a 6-2 American lead. The Canadians came back with 4 unanswered to tie it at 6, and then Tiffany Gerber is being given credit currently for the 7th goal, but it was deflected on its way in. We thought initially by Lindquist. They're giving it to Gerber from Hagstrom with just 54 seconds remaining in the period. And at the conclusion of the second period, the score, the United States 7, Canada 6. We'll be back here from Austin for the final frame when we return. This is the United States, or pardon me, the Americas qualifications hosted by the United States here at the Women's 2025 World Floorball Championship qualifiers. And welcome back from Austin, Texas, as we are set to set the table, if you will, for the final 20 minutes of the first game of the Women's 2025 World Floorball Championship qualifications. The United States leads Canada 7-6 after a goal credited to Tiffany Gerber. You know, Tiff Gerber, as we mentioned, hadn't scored in 13 matches coming into this, or her last 13 for the U.S. She's managed the last 2 for the United States. After Canada came back from a 6-2 deficit to tie it, it feels like the United States needed that to maybe take a breath going into the intermission.
Yeah, they definitely needed something positive to build off of. Giving up a big lead like that can be tough, but managing to score a goal before you go back into the locker room really can help turn things around.
Trent Kling, Mark Raup with you from Austin as they wait for the clock to wheel down to 0. It'll be the Hagstrom line against the Van Thielen line for Canada to begin the third period of action. And Canada wins the draw. Feed it to the far side. Gerber, the steal for the U.S. Hagstrom sets the table for KKG. Her shot just wide to the right. The ball taken behind the net by Sophia Holm. She is one of the Canadian goals in the game. And once again, Geert Gear wheels it wide to the right of the cage. Gets a centering feed from Hagstrom. Good look, but a nice defensive stick by Van Thielen to get in there, stop things, and Sophia Holm will calm things down for the Canadians, who trail by 1.
She got just enough of that to stop that scoring chance. Boy, she was right at the doorstep, though.
Quick up, nice set play for the Canadians. You could tell it was designed to get to the center, and Lobley set the table far side for Van Thielen, whose shot goes out.
Just missed up and to the right.
Alto. Off the stick of the forechecking Pomeroy. Pomeroy waving her stick there once again, and Canada cuts down that diagonal pass. The U.S. can't get out of their own zone right now. Tanskanen
some
comes back.
unnecessary risks on a few of these passes also.
Yeah, with a 1-goal lead here in the third period, and having been bitten a few times on these cross passes, you would think the MO would be up the boards just like that.
And just be a little more precious with the ball. Throwing those wild bouncing passes across the middle is a recipe for disaster.
And Canada was bitten a few times in the first period due to that, and the United States a few times in the second period because of that. Blomqvist up the boards. Feeds it to Jeffries, who's pinching up from her defensive spot. And Jeffries has the ball poked away, but it was done so illegally, so Canada will get a free hit. They take it quickly. Back to the defender, Crossweight, and that ball bounces wide of the cage of Kate McBean.
Team USA got really lucky there. They got caught in a change during that free hit and were very undermanned in front of the net. Thankfully, the shot went a little wide.
Jeffries a blind backhand pass. McBean grabs it, plays it to Gerber. Gerber calmly up to Hagstrom, and the U.S. starts their rush. KKG across the far boards. Back to the point, and Gerber, who has 2 goals in this game. She's had one of her better games with the U.S. team. Another wide shot. And this time Canada takes the rebound. They'll wheel it forward. They've got numbers if they hurry, but a great play by Hagstrom coming back. Lindquist has it. There's 1-on-none for a second, but then Canada got a late change. Holmes sprinted off the bench and blocked down the shot.
That last second change probably saved them a goal there.
It was a sloppy change, but sometimes a sloppy change can turn into a good change very quickly. Hagstrom spins with it in the far corner. Lindquist cuts to the net. Hagstrom's still there. She's being hounded by St. Denis. Up to the point, Gerber. Back to Hagstrom, sitting on 2 goals. Her shot blocked by St. Denis and out.
And here comes the second line for Team USA, and Canada is answering with their own change.
Canada goes back to their top line. Lovett's shot, that didn't miss by much as that goes wide. I don't know that Norsworthy saw it cleanly. Ball turned over as the Canadians were trying to clear. Tanskanen turns, fires it through the crease. Kohler couldn't connect her stick to the ball. Feeds it in front. Here's Lovett near the crease area. Boy, the U.S. is buzzing with this shift so far. The Hagstrom line held it in the Canadian end for about 40 seconds, and now the second line for the Americans has held it down there for just about as much. And another turnover in center. Alto goes back against the grain, but it's stolen, and a nifty move by Lobley, who couldn't quite get the shot off. Tanskanen recovers in time. Canada goes back up top. Borghese, the captain. Comes back to Sophia Holm. Holm through traffic. Ball batted into the air by Esther Angerstig. Controlled by the Americans. Tenskanen towards center. She's double teamed. Wisely gets it back to Angerstig. Now Canada will forecheck. The Americans will try and change on the ball. It looks like the Americans going 1-2-1-2 so far with their changes in terms of who they're playing. We haven't seen the third line yet, 4 minutes into the third period.
Seems like the Canadian game plan in the last couple of shifts they've had is to try and stretch everything out and get somebody open in front of the net. That last chance they had somebody wide open in front of the net, but a Team USA stick broke the play up just at the last second.
Hagstrom to Lindquist. The ball turned over. Van Thielen took it, but her diagonal is cut off by Gerber. Gerber uses her body, gets body position, feeds back to Hagstrom, who wanted KKG on the rush far side. Canada takes it right back. Van Thielen's shot deflected into the air by Hagstrom's stick. McBean collects. Didn't really have an outlet, and finally Leach comes to the near corner to take it for the Americans.
That was a really nice job by Kate McBean to be patient and calm and let that ball come down to her. It's really easy to panic when the ball pops way up in the air and you put yourself as a goalie in a bad position a lot of the time trying to snatch at it.
Alto directing traffic, feeds it down the far boards, but it's taken right back by the Canadians. And a quick shot goes off of the shoulders into the corner of McBean. That was Lobley on the shot. Lobley gets it back on the far boards. Feed out in front. Ball off a stick. I think that was St. Denis trying to settle it. Now Lobley's shot blocked by Angerstig, bodied down by Alto. The ball still in the crease area. McBean makes an excellent save and pokes away the rebound.
Another dangerous loose ball in front of the net that led to a big scoring chance.
McBean guides the shot away from Blomqvist into the corner. Lobley coming back out with it. Lobley thought about the wraparound, thinks better of it as Alto came to meet her on the near post. Lobley's going to go for a change. It's kicked away from Blomqvist into the middle. Here's Campbell, tried to run off with it. Blomqvist's shot is blocked by Kohler. Now Campbell misses the ball as she tried to move forward, and it's collected once again by Nicole Crosswaite. Her shot through traffic doesn't make it even halfway to the net. Angerstig blocks that down. Here's Campbell. Campbell pushing along the far boards and will feed it all the way down the floor. Norsworthy calmly handles and kicks it off to her left where Nicole Crosswaite holds.
Pretty good idea there by Kim Campbell. USA had really been struggling to get the ball out of the zone. Sometimes a clear is what you need to reset everybody's mindset to get back to playing some good offense and defense.
Now the Canadians, who have moved Megan Jeffries up to forward. She had been playing D for most of this game, but I think they're trying to give Holm a few extra shifts back there defensively. This shot from a distance, and this time McBean scoops up the rebound, underhands it to Lindquist. Off it goes to Hagstrom. Hagstrom breaks in. The shot might have been blocked by her own player. Now Canada a 3-on-2 rush if they'll hurry, but the ball off of the stick of Jeffries, and back alone to grab it is Tanskin. Gerber up the far wing. Gear with it. Hagstrom tried to center to Lindquist. Gets it back after it deflected off a Canada stick. And now back it comes to Angerstig. You notice that Elsa Tanskanen has moved back to a defensive role for the Americans after playing forward for the first couple of periods. So both the Americans and the Canadians making some adjustments. And KKG can't find the net from range. It's out, and it'll be a Canadian free hit.
It feels like the Canadian defense has really started to try and concentrate more on breaking up those centering passes than they were previously. They're not crashing down in front of the net nearly as much, and instead they're looking to take away passing lanes and to smother those outside passes and not let the ball get to the middle.
Van Thielen attempted a shot. It was blocked down by Alto. Canada gets the rebound off of that block shot. Back up to the point, Borghese. Far wing attempt, goes wide of the net. Lovett comes back to get the rebound. Lovett off of the rear boards, and calmly handling it for the Americans is Alto. Plays it forward to Campbell. Campbell plays it even farther forward for Jen Kohler, but it was a bit too far for her, and Sophia Holm, who, as we've mentioned, has been just about everywhere defensively for Canada during this game, is back to get the ball for the Canadians, and they head the opposite direction with Blomqvist. I'll change on the ball a little bit. Nicole Crossweight. Now they'll reverse direction. Here's Jeffries. Jeffries spins against Tanskanen. Jeffries comes in. Oh, a sneaky little shot. McBean the save. McBean the save on the rebound, and it goes into the corner.
2 huge saves by Kate McBean there. Wow.
Kate McBean showing up big time in the third period. A couple of huge saves, and now another one pawed to the corner.
Team USA needs to get the ball out of the zone here.
Niskanen was able to grab that rebound after McBean knocked it into the corner. Now Hagstrom intercepts the centering pass. Hagstrom pulls it back. Just a little off tempo for KKG to handle, but the Americans now will slow things down and try to hold possession a little bit here. Gear into the far corner. Hagstrom's shot is blocked down, but the Americans first to it. No matter is a nice little steal by Nicole Crossweight using her length to her advantage. Blomqvist up the near boards quickly. It's stolen away. Hagstrom is going to go back and collect for Gerber. Calmly to Tanskanen.
Really good double team to force the turnover there by Team USA.
Tanskanen exchanges with Gerber. And I think the U.S., correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, I think they're just rotating 4D at this point, and Ruth Leach is no longer in the rotation with Tanskanen going back.
They've moved Kimberly Campbell up to the second line, but otherwise, I think you're right. It looks like we're just going with 4 defenders and mostly the first 2 offensive lines as well.
Borghese coming back to handle for Canada. So just like the Canadians trying to give Sophia Holm an extra few shifts defensively, I think the Americans trying to do that with some of their ball control defenders. Lovett's distance shot is blocked. She'll put it into the corner. Campbell gets beaten to the ball by Holm. Holm up the boards. Advantage is played, and Canada will use that opportunity to get a partial change in.
Might have gotten away with one there. That was a pretty big stick check.
Pomeroy's centering feed knocked down by Lovett. She'll try it again. Kicks it into the near corner. Nice move by Van Thielen to shake her defender, Angerstig. Van Thielen sweeping out. Now up it comes to Blomqvist. Borghese back to Blomqvist. Wants the shot, thinks better of it to the far side. That shot fed wide of the net by Van Thielen, the volume shooter. Can't connect to the cage.
Interesting choice by Canada there. Earlier, they were trying to keep somebody in front of the net and spread it out. That time, all 5 players were probably 30-plus feet away from the net. They didn't have anybody anywhere near the scoring area.
This ball fed back. The quick shot just missed from Blomqvist. And once again, going over the shoulder of McBean. That time did not miss the cage by much, an inch at most.
Yep, when your shots live up there, that's really the only downside is if you don't get it under the bar, it's going out of bounds.
So in a game that has featured fairly steady offensive action and a lot of scoring, we haven't seen a goal so far in the third period. The U.S. trying to change that on the rush. Here's Hagstrom, but she did make contact with a Canadian stick as she was trying to knock down the ball, and it'll be a Canadian free hit. But yes, Mark, over 11 minutes into the third period, I think this is the longest stretch we've seen without a goal in this game.
Yeah, it feels like we're back to how it was early in the first period, where both teams are sort of feeling each other out again. It seems like both teams are kind of trying to find the holes in everybody's armor here.
Maybe focusing a little bit more on possession than they were in the second period as well, to that point. Spinning with it offensively is St. Denis. This ball pops into the middle. A danger ball there if you're an American fan. St. Denis running it down in the corner, but an infraction, and it'll be a U.S. free hit. And one thing that's important for us to note, Mark, here at this stage in the game is because they've switched the Americas to a 3-game qualifier instead of just a 2. It's not a total goal qualifier anymore. So the outcome of this game, win or loss, matters a lot more than maybe a 1-goal game would have in the old format.
Yep. I guess at this point, though, that your mindset if you're Canada is you're just playing to get 1 goal to tie it, and then you just take your chance from there. So you can play a little bit softer and a little bit safer.
That was a dangerous pass out of the zone by Angerstig. It did eventually make it to Kohler, pushes it deeper. Now Bebout in on the forecheck, but Canada will have it and regroup. Crossweight and Blomqvist playing catch.
Yeah, we're starting to see individual players sneak in on this second line now. Caitlin was playing previously on the third, and now she's out here on the second.
A great pass across, but Kohler, an excellent defensive play to tie up Denise just a moment. And now Angerstig gets a block down low. Jeffries spinning with it for Canada. Jeffries towards the net. That's kicked aside by Kohler before it can get into a dangerous spot in the slot area. Here's Jeffries, pops out with it. Kohler, another good defensive play, and here comes Lovett. Lovett racing towards the ball. They were looking for a break with Bebout as she headed north. Kohler pushes it back into the center, and this line has won an American free hit. That was a great out along the boards by Catherine Lovett, but a couple of excellent defensive plays by Jen Kohler to set all that up.
Yeah, the USA really withstood a pretty hard push there and managed to keep everything outside, away from the net. Oh my goodness! Now that was a gorgeous tip.
And I don't know if that deflected off of anyone in front, but I know KKG, and she tells the ref, no, I didn't get it. It's Tenskinen's goal. So Elsa Tenskinen scores from the point. KKG was providing the screen. It bounced, I believe, off of Norsworthy and up into the top of the net and in. The last 3 goals for the U.S. have been point shots that have found their way past a screen Norsworthy, and they lead now 8-6.
Well, Trent, as a person who plays an awful lot of goalie, being you know how hard it is to handle those shots when you've got 2 people fighting in front of you. You can't see the ball very well, and on top of that, you got 2 people moving back and forth, 2 sticks. You don't know what's going to happen, and sometimes those bounces just go the complete opposite direction of what you were looking for.
It's a 2-goal game now, 3-goal game. KKG strikes again. First on the screen for the 8th goal, and that time her lightning quick release gives her second of the game, and it's a 9-6 American advantage.
What a snipe that was. She got a little bit of space and just buried it.
So we had mentioned the United States getting a trio of goals that kind of bounced in from the point. That was no bouncer from the point.
Whatever the opposite of a bouncer is, that's what that was.
It was a rifle to the top corner. Nothing Norsworthy could do about that.
And boy, she got just far enough in to where Norsworthy had to decide whether she wanted to come out and challenge or sit back. And I don't know that either one of them would have made a difference.
Yeah, you had Hagstrom moving to the middle too, so she had to account for that. Lovett plays it forward to Bebout. Bebout rushing in. She'll stop, play it back to the defender. Smart play with a 3-goal lead for the Americans.
Yeah, if you're on the USA team right now, you're just as happy to run the clock with possession as you are to be in the offensive zone. You just can't make mistakes at this point.
And here's the thing is, in the second period, they give up a 4-goal lead. Canada went from down 6-2 to tied. Bebout tying up. Crossweight on the far side. Good forechecking for the former ASU lacrosse standout. And now Canada sets up offensively. Blomqvist, her shot blocked, and I think her stick got up off the finger of Lovett. Lovett recoiled immediately. Bebout has her stick knocked out of her hand as pumping it in deep was Crossweight. And I think that was a situation where off the shot, her stick ramped up the stick of Lovett based on the way that Catherine Lovett reacted.
The good news is, Catherine looked like she was all right. She came off the floor looking okay, so I don't think she's too badly hurt, but I think she probably did take one off the knuckles there.
You feel it for a few seconds, for sure. And now we get a timeout with 6:06 remaining in the third period. The score 9-6. The Americans lead it. They've had 2, or make it 3 unanswered, dating back to the second period of play. As we take a look at the last few goal scorers, Tiffany Gerber got hurt. Gerber hadn't scored, as we mentioned, in 13 games coming into this one. Manages 2 here. Then it was Tenskinen on a shot from the point. That was assisted by Tiff Gerber. She's had herself a game on the score sheet. And then Hagstrom assisted on a goal by Kirt Gear on a rush down the right-hand side. KKG netted her second of the game. So it's Hagstrom with 2, Gerber with 2, KKG with 2 for the Americans. Campbell, Angerstig, and Tenskinen, the other goal scorers for the Canadians. Crossweight, Pomeroy, Holm, Lobley with 1 apiece, and Van Thielen with 2. She had the first 2 Canadian goals. Van Thielen's also got an assist on the game. So
you have to imagine that pretty quickly here, Canada is going to start trying to ratchet up their pressure. And right on cue, here comes the double team.
Double team along the boards. Tanskinen gives the ball away. Niskanen takes it, goes back to the point. But a turn intended back for Niskanen was stolen away by Hagstrom. I don't think Niskanen was expecting the return feed. KKG able to fight for it in the offensive end for the Americans. She'll spin. She's just trying to kill a little bit more time now with 5:38 remaining in the third period.
This is exactly where you want the ball if you're Team USA.
And a shot from Lindquist, just wide, and I think that deflected off a Canadian stick. I'm not sure if that's Adam who got her stick in there, but either way, it's an American free hit, and we'll see which trio they put out. It's Bebout once again on the right side. She's supplanted Campbell on this particular line. And Kohler, who's had some exemplary defensive plays, will trigger the ball in. Kohler to Bebout, back to Kohler. Inside, the look. Bebout spins, fires that just wide.
Every second you can spend on this side of the floor, you are very happy if you're a USA player.
Dangerous ball kicked around the crease area by Catherine Lovett, but now Canada will take and regroup. The U.S. shifts back into their W formation. And now here's Van Thielen. Canada pulled their goalie.
Yep, Canada's net is empty. So with 5 minutes left, we're going to have a whole lot of 6-on-5 here.
And Holm out there with Blomqvist defensively for Canada. A quick give and go, but an aerial pass to the far side waved at by Lobley. She'll chase it down in the corner, though. Here's Van Thielen. Reset up top. A quick cross pass, and I think...
Did she not shoot? She was wide open.
Holm had an open shot and an open net to shoot at, but she did not trigger it. And now it's Lobley with it. Van Thielen. Waved at by Bebout. Now comes to the near side. Holm. Up top, Blomqvist. She and Holm play catch. Blomqvist thinks about the shot, instead feeds it back to Holm.
They clearly want to set Holm up for shots here.
I'm not sure Holm is all that keen on shooting right now. It's behind the net. Pomeroy. Van Thielen's shot skitters through the crease. It'll be attempted to be cleared by Angerstig, and now she'll just fire it into the fifth row of seats. And
sometimes
the Americans
a clear
will get
like that out of bounds is just as good as the clear down the floor. You can get your feet back under you, mark everybody up.
And they get a partial change here, so Bebout comes out after a long shift. And now it's the Hagstrom line back out as far as the forwards. Angerstig stays out there for the Americans defensively, gets a block and attempts to clear. Instead, getting to it is Pomeroy, but now Lindquist comes down with it, and Lindquist will clear towards center. KKG can't come up with it. Blomqvist fields over to the far side. Here's Lobley, fires a shot, that's wide. Holm up on the rebound. Holm surveys the action, forced over to Lobley. Now here's the shot from Van Thielen, that bounces wide. Holm back to Lobley once again. Up top to Blomqvist. Van Thielen is raced in on, and that was a good read by Hagstrom. She knew exactly where Blomqvist wanted to go with that. Quick shot from Lobley, blocked down in front. That was Alto with the block. It's fed up to KKG, and it's the post. Looking for the hat trick. And she is denied by Iron. Another good read on that pass from Gerber. Pokes it away, but the Canadians regroup. Lobley plays in Swiss leagues. She and Blomqvist will give and go. Lobley sweeps it back. Van Thielen the shot. That goes wide. 2:35 remaining in the third period. The Americans out to a 9-6 lead. That ball kicked in front. It pops off the stick of Jeffries. McBean collects quickly to Tanskanen, whose pass was kind of flipped along to Gerber. Bounces off of the boards. She is hounded, but Lindquist eventually comes down with it. Kicks it to center. It's taken by Blomqvist. Drop pass for Van Thielen. Van Thielen up to Holm. Inside look. Oh, a nice cross pass looking for Blomqvist on the far post from Jeffries. Didn't get there. McBean thought about trying to grab that centering pass. Instead, Canada comes down with it. Here's Jeffries. A neat little backhand pass.
The USA team is doing a really good job of keeping him to the outside of the floor so far. The last thing you want in a situation like this is a loose ball in the middle or a pass into the slot where there's not somebody there. They're doing a really good job of keeping their shape, even though it's 6-on-5.
Lobley off the foot of Hagstrom. Lobley up the boards. Hagstrom pitches it deep. Hagstrom, is it three for her? Off the side of the net. The Americans are finding issues against the open net, but still.
That post is playing some really good defense.
It has so far. The Canadians Still trailed by 3, and time is ticking down. This shot blocked wide off the stick of Van Thielen. They'll reset. Here's Lobley, the shot. That's blocked.
The Canadian ladies need to show a little bit more urgency here. They need 3 goals in a minute, and they're just kind of playing catch around the outside a lot.
And this has been a long shift for this 6-on-5 crew. They've been out well over 90 seconds now. Lobley across the far boards. Van Thielen's shot is wide. Holm collects. Holm looks one-on-one against Angerstig. Now Blomqvist's shot is blocked by KKG. It's turned back inside by Holm. A nice play by Angerstig, but got the free hand into the back, and this will be whistled down. A timeout is called by the Americans. They're going to use this to reset. Everyone get a breath with 45 seconds remaining and a 3-goal lead.
As little as you want the Canadians to be able to catch their breath and get back out there with their best players, letting your players take a little break as well really is a lot more beneficial. You want your best players to have a little bit of a breath, get some water, let's talk about it, and just remind everybody we've got a 3-goal lead, keep it with the outside, and everything will be okay. And you really got to give Kate McBean a lot of credit. She's made 2 or 3 huge saves down the stretch here to keep this a 3-goal game.
And especially the couple of rebound saves she made early on in the second period when neither team had really cracked offensively. It gave the Americans to kind of find their offensive footing. A couple of quick goals back-to-back by the United States. And they feel pretty good about their 3-goal advantage. Once again, if this is a 2-game total goal series for the Canadians, they're probably not pulling their keeper. They're probably trying to play it close. But this first game means so much in terms of the qualification here with the 3-game series.
So Canada gets to start with it here. Let's see if they can't get one quick, or at least a good scoring chance.
Ball in front is stolen away by Hagstrom. Hagstrom's going to hold it in the corner. She is double-teamed, attempted to move, and she has earned a free hit. That is massive. Jasmine McKnight out there for the Canadians. Norsworthy back in net for Canada. 30 seconds remaining in the third, and I wonder why they put the goalie back in, because it's not a total goal series, as we said, so maybe throwing in the towel a little bit here. Lindquist the steal. Here's Hagstrom. We'll bring it up. Looking across the floor, it's deflected back to Norsworthy. She'll funnel it forward. It's on to Jessica Crosswaite. That's stolen away. And Tanskinen will try to rag out the remaining time into the Canadian end. I think that shot deflected up, hit a Canadian defender. That's fired on net. Kirk Gear is stopped by Norsworthy, and that'll do it. The United States hold serve on their home floor in Game 1. 9-6 is the final score here, as they managed 2 goals in the third period. Kate McBean shutting Canada down in the third period of play. And I think for the Americans, you have to be very encouraged, not only with the win here coming out after the Fredericton series in which they were outplayed by the Canadians, but you have to like what you saw in terms of defensive shape if you're the co-coaches for the Americans.
I mean, when you consider the fact it was 7-6 to start the third, and Canada needed to press and needed to get goals, the fact you kept them completely out of the net is pretty impressive, especially considering how great they were in the second period.
Kate McBean will finish the game, at least on the IFF site, 16 saves on 22 shots against for a save percentage of 72.7. Meanwhile, Ashley Norsworthy, they've got her for 10 saves on 17 shots, 58.8 save percentage, but she had a lot of deflections and a lot of screens to look through. I don't think that's a reflection on how she played necessarily, and as Mark and I talked about, she collected a lot of would-be rebounds as well. So those are your goaltending statistics. As far as the goals scored, we'll just take you on a quick rundown as we're waiting for players of the game here. Elise Van Thielen got the Canadians off to a quick start, 7 minutes in with a goal, but Marie Hagstrom answered about 2.5 minutes later to make it 1-1 United States. Esther Angerstig took advantage of an interception on a diagonal, stepped in and rifled it home behind Norsworthy to take a 2-1 lead for the U.S. And Kimberly Campbell did almost the exact same thing a minute and a half later, or 2 minutes later, pardon me, to give the Americans a 3-1 lead. That's how they headed into the second period. Hagstrom scored on a beautiful Zorro to begin the second period, one that left us speechless before Van Thielen answered for the Canadians. The score was 4-2 about 7 minutes into the third period. And then Clara Gear scored for the Americans to make it 5-2. Tiff Gerber made it 6-2 with a shot from the point. From that point, though, the Canadians inched closer and then exploded closer. Sharon Lobley scored, then Sophia Holmes scored, then Sophie Pomeroy scored, then Nicole Crosswaite scored, all within about 3 minutes of playing time to tie it up for Canada. Tiff Gerber came back, made the score 7-6 before half. It was a deflection. It deflected off of something in front of Norsworthy, we know. Tanskanen scored the first American goal of the third period at 12:50 of the third, and then just 8 seconds later, KKG struck for her second of the game, making it a 9-6 final. So, Mark, any final thoughts here on this IFF broadcast stream?
I think that both teams have a lot that they can build off of after this game. The Canadian team had that really heavy rush in the second period where they roared back into the game. If they can channel that, they've got a good shot coming into tomorrow's game. But if you're Team USA, you've got to be especially happy because you weathered the storm and then held them out of the net for the entirety of the third period. You can build off of that for sure.
It was an exciting game. That's one thing you cannot argue about between both of these two teams. It was back and forth, and the Americans get the 3-goal win to take game one. 2 games forthcoming. The next game, same time, same place tomorrow on Sunday. And Mark and I will be back with you to cover this. Hopefully we'll try and fix a few things from the broadcast perspective. But, hey, we got it out there for those on the IFF stream, and we thank you for joining us. For Mark Raup and Ricardo on camera, I'm Trent Kling saying so long until tomorrow. You've been watching the Women's 2025 World Floorball Championship qualifications from Austin, Texas.